Samar Island is the third largest island in the Philippines and has one of the most extensive forest over limestone ecosystems in the country. This ecosystem is home to a wide array of uniquely adapted flora and fauna. Samar Island is known to be one of the centers of botanical diversity in the Philippines and has been nominated as a UNESCO World Natural Heritage Site for its exceptional natural beauty and precious biodiversity. For these reasons, CONserve-KAIGANGAN, a biodiversity research program, was established. Kaigangan is a Samar local word that means forest over limestone. Our research program's mission is to assess and conserve the biodiversity in Samar Island's forest over limestone towards its sustainable management. One of our program's projects is the assessment of biodiversity and community structure in forest over limestone ecosystems. This component of our research aims to determine plant diversity and vegetation structure in various habitat types in forests over limestone, to determine animal diversity associated with forest over limestone, to identify functional classification of vegetation with its associated animal diversity, and to analyze the environmental factors influencing the prevailing structure of the biota. We conducted a comprehensive biodiversity assessment of forests over limestone in the municipalities of Paranas, Taft, and Giwan with remarkable findings. A combined total of 71 plant species were recorded from these municipalities, with at least 3 tree species classified as vulnerable based on the DENR updated national list of threatened Philippine plants. A total of 52 terrestrial vertebrate animal species were also recorded, including 5 amphibian species, 15 reptile species, 20 bird species, and 12 mammal species, with conservation statuses ranging from threatened to endangered and critically endangered, based on the DENR updated national list of threatened Philippine fauna. This knowledge will empower our stakeholders in these areas to make appropriate research-based conservation efforts for the protection of these ecosystems that harbor an assemblage of rare, endemic, and economically important flora and fauna. Through this program, people will be equipped with knowledge on forests over limestone biodiversity, including the ecosystem services that it can offer to the community. We at CONserve-KAIGANGAN continue to further raise awareness and capacitate national and local government agencies, especially local communities living in and around Samar's Kaigangan.
Hello everyone, welcome to Kaigangan Biodiversity Webinar Series. In March 2022, Ms. Edelyn presented about the biodiversity of forests over limestone in Samar Island Natural Park, or also known as the SINP. Her study aimed to provide information on the outcomes of the plant and animal biodiversity in SINP. Second, to describe the tree community structure in SINP. Third, to highlight the significance of the nomination of SINP as a UNESCO Natural Heritage Site. This was conducted specifically in Paranas and Taft, Eastern Samar, a province in the Philippines located in the Eastern Visayas region. Some of the highlight of the results of her study are the identification of some ecologically important amphibians, for example, the Philippine endemic Platymantis guentheri. In terms of reptiles, a very interesting one example is the Lycodon dumerili, which exhibits a widespread distribution and has been documented throughout the Mindanao Paeg, or the Pleistocene Aggregate Island Complex. Ms. Edelyn discussed also about her interesting findings on birds, for example, the Bucerus hydrocorax semigaleatus, also known as the Philippine hornbill, a large species of hornbill endemic to the Philippines. In terms of flora, she found this new island record species, for example, the Tectaria calcarea, a fern or herb species with native range in the Philippines. Overall, Ms. Edelyn emphasized that SINP is indeed worthy of its nomination as a UNESCO Natural Heritage Site because of its natural and cultural significance. The following month, Ms. Ren D. Obenya successfully presented a very good study on some threatened woody plant species of forest over limestone in the Philippine Islands. The study determined the threatened woody plant species in the forest over limestone in the Philippines and discussed the threats of the forest over limestone in the country. And of course, Samar Island is one of her study sites in addition to Cebu and Batangas sites. Ms. Ren presented the list of critically endangered species based on the Philippine DAO Red List and the IUCN Red List. She also made an emphasis on economic uses of some of the identified threatened woody plant species in her study sites, for example, the Shiraya nigrosensis, a Philippine endemic dipterocarp species, and our very own Tectona philippinensis with known natural populations in Batangas and in Mindoro. The third one is the Aquilaria cumingiana, a source of agarwood, a highly prized resin with many economic values. And the fourth example is the Hopea philippinensis, which is also a Philippine endemic dipterocarp species. Part of the study is the identification of threats and conservation concerns in the study site. For example, the limestone quarrying, deforestation, illegal logging, among others. Ms. Ren concluded the presentation by highlighting the potential contribution of her study to sustainable development goals. List. For fauna component, 21 vertebrate species were recorded, of which 6 are documented throughout the Mindanao Paeg or the Pleistocene Aggregate Island Complex. And here are some of the photographs of the vertebrate species she recorded from the study site. Just last month, we learned a lot from UPLB Assistant Professor Marjorie de Los Angeles, who discussed about the ecology of understory plants of forest over limestone in Samar Island, Philippines. She documented plant understory species in forest over limestones and described the pattern of plant distribution with reference to ecological parameters using multivariate tools in Paranas, Taft, and Giwan, Samar. Assistant Professor Marjorie recorded 26 understory floral species divided into 21 flowering species and 6 fern species. Part of her study is to determine the species richness and diversity indices of Paranas, Taft, and Giwan. In addition, she found that the understory plant species from Paranas and Taft sites are highly affected by soil iron concentration and electrical conductivity, whereas plants from Giwan are highly associated with soil pH and other macro and micronutrients.
Yun. Hi, good morning everyone. Welcome back to our CONserve-KAIGANGAN webinar series of 2025. Thank you for joining us today on our third webinar episode of the year. I'm Ryan Navidad, the research fellow of the program, and I'll be your host for today. So, hi everyone. Before we start, let's have our kumustahan. For the participants, please write your name, your affiliation, and location in our chat box so we can acknowledge your presence. Welcome. Good morning, everyone. I'll be checking the Zoom and Facebook Live. So we have Ma'am JR Chavez, Marina Aga from Bicol University. Hi, ma'am. We also have Florence De Rojas Jimenez. Good morning po. Who else? From Facebook Live again, we have Andres Basa Saquito. Good morning from SSU. I think that's Samar State University. Hi, everyone. Who else? Ayan. Hi, good morning po. I'm Lailali Masungsong from IBS CAS UPLB. Ayan. So, again, welcome to our CONserve-KAIGANGAN webinar series. This webinar happens once or twice a month, so stay tuned to our FB page for the announcement. We also have Sir Jamil Cruz. Hi po, good morning to you, and Ma'am Menisa Antonio. Hi Ma'am Menisa, I miss you, from Mariano Marcos State University. Ayan, again, I know all of us are excited, but before we begin, we want to remind everyone that this webinar is recorded. And with this, I'll be mentioning some house rules or rules for our decorum. Number one, kindly keep your microphones muted, especially when our speaker is presenting. Number two, if you have questions or clarifications during the presentation, please send your questions through the chat box there, and we will acknowledge the questions during the open forum. Number three, please note that we will be having a quiz to complete afterwards. So the link of the evaluation form will be provided, and e-certificates will be sent after completing the quiz and the evaluation form. And this will also serve na po as your proof of attendance. So don't worry, this is just a simple quiz about the presentation. All you need to do is just listen lang po. And last, please make sure that the email address you indicate is valid and correct, as it will be the basis for sending the e-certificates. Ayan. Once again, so hi po ulit sa mga humabol. I cannot mention all of you po, but regards and thank you for watching us today. So now that we've set some ground rules, we can continue. I guess we're all ready to listen and learn from our speaker. But before we call our guest speaker, let me first introduce her. So our speaker is an environmental science educator and researcher from Samar State University, specializing in biodiversity conservation, ecological governance, and freshwater resource management. With a background in biology and science education, she has led and collaborated on projects addressing ecosystem services, forest conservation, and gender perspectives and environmental management. Her recent works include water quality assessments of mussel farms, river systems, and natural drinking sources across Samar, contributing to science-based policies for sustainable watershed and coastal resource management. Not only that, she also serves as Registered Environmental Impact Assessment Reviewer or EIA Reviewer in Region 8 for terrestrial, freshwater, and marine ecosystems, and manages an academic biochemical and analytical laboratory supporting environmental research. Wow. So as director of University-Based Sustainability Center, she actively engages with communities and government units, promoting nature-based solutions, citizen science, and environmental stewardship through initiatives like Project CONserve-KAIGANGAN, our project, and Saves Antiao. So her extensive involvement in research, extension, and in the innovation reflects a commitment to integrating science, education, and policy for resilient ecosystems. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's all welcome to talk about community perceptions and ecological insights on Ulot River Riparian Biodiversity, a focus group discussion approach. Let's all welcome Dr. Edelyn Echapare.
Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to present to you the results of a community-based assessment titled Community Perception on Ecological Insights on Ulot River Riparian Biodiversity, a focus group discussion approach. This presentation summarizes the key findings of a FGD conducted by the CONserve-KAIGANGAN team in Barangay San Isidro, Paranas, Samar. The goal of this FGD was to explore and document the community's understanding of the ecosystem services provided by the river, specifically Ulot River, ranging from the material resources and tourism income to cultural identity and environmental support. So this initiative aimed to go beyond data collection and to truly listen to the lived experiences of the people whose daily lives or their livelihood and traditions are closely tied to the river. So through this activity, we were able to uncover valuable insights into how the local population perceives and respond to ecological changes, and what are the challenges they faced and how they envision participating in the conservation of their river environment. So this presentation will walk you through those perspectives, highlighting both the ecological significance of Ulot River and the social cultural realities of the community who calls its banks home. So talking about Ulot River, this Ulot River is flowing through the heart of Samar Island Natural Park. It is the longest and one of the most ecologically important rivers in Samar. It stretches across multiple municipalities and is not only a critical habitat for various flora and fauna, but also a vital source of livelihood and cultural identity for the communities living along its banks. So recognizing the urgent need to understand the human dimension of conservation, the CONserve-KAIGANGAN team conducted a focus group discussion in Barangay San Isidro, Paranas, Samar, and because this barangay is one of the key communities closely interacting to the river on a daily basis. So the FGD brought together a diverse group of local residents, coconut farmers, tour guides, and boat operators involved in the popular torpedo boat ecotourism initiative, housewives managing domestic water use and food preparation. There were also barangay officials overseeing the local governance, and even the youth and the senior citizen was also represented. So each of them shared their unique views and experiences related to the river. This discussion aimed to gather insights not only on the tangible benefits derived from the river, but also on the challenges they face. So the challenges they observed over time and their hopes and suggestion for how the river and its surrounding ecosystem could be better protected and sustained for future generation. The focus group discussion conducted by the team, CONserve-KAIGANGAN team, was designed with three key objectives in mind. Each one centered on drawing out the valuable perspective of the people who interact with Ulot River on a daily basis. The first objective was to identify the ecosystem services that the Ulot River provides to the local community. This includes both tangible benefits such as the food that they get from the river, the water itself, the raw materials, and tourism income. And there were also intangible ones like it's for cultural identity and recreation and ecological support. We wanted to know how do the people benefit from the river and what roles does it play in their survival, economy, and traditions. The second objective was to gain a deeper understanding on the threats and the issues affecting the river. From their local knowledge and lived experiences, participants were able to identify the key environmental concerns such as unsustainable fishing practices. There were also sand and gravel extraction. There were also illegal logging and improper waste disposal. So this helped us see the ecological pressure points from a community-based perspective. And lastly, the third objective was to collect community-driven recommendations. These are the suggestions grounded in reality and informed by the people who live closest to the river. So these recommendations aim to support sustainable management efforts that are inclusive, culturally appropriate, and aligned with both conservation goals and community needs. So overall, the FGD served as a space for dialogue, reflection, and collaboration. So this is a step forward, bridging scientific inquiry with local wisdom in protecting the river, specifically the Ulot River Riparian ecosystem. One of the key themes that emerged during the FGD was the vital role of Ulot River in providing provisioning services. That is the direct material or the benefits that the local communities derive or getting from the river. So the participants shared that the river has long been a source of freshwater fish, the crabs. There were also shrimps, which they rely on both daily meals and occasional income. So families living near the river catches what they need for sustenance, while others sell their catch in the nearby markets to support their household expenses. Beyond aquatic resources, Ulot River is also a source of edible plants such as ubod. And ubod is actually a pith from coconut or palm or a young bamboo shoots. And ginagawa nilang ulam yon. So which are gathered from the riparian vegetation. Kinukuha lang nila dun sa paligid and they consumed it as part of the community's traditional diet. So the riverbanks also provide valuable non-timber forest products. Items like uway, that's uway in Waray dialect, but that pertains to rattan. And also bariu, which is parang it's a palm leaves na ginagawang banig. Or there were also driftwood are harvested and used for mat weaving and basket making, roofing, and other small-scale furniture or handicraft. So these raw materials are part of a local craft economy, especially among women and older community members who have preserved this traditional skill. So, in addition, participants also noted that the water from the river is used for household purposes such as bathing, washing clothes, and watering gardens, particularly in the areas where access to piped or clean water remains limited. So these provisioning services are not just convenient, they are essential. They support daily survival, cultural continuity, and income generation, especially in the remote or economically constrained areas. The community's deep reliance on these resources underscores the importance of protecting the Ulot River, not just a natural. Beyond the tangible material benefits that Ulot River provides, the FGD also revealed its deep cultural and emotional significance to the local community. So they were able to describe Ulot River as more than just a source of water or food. It is a place woven into a social fabric of their daily lives. Families often gathered by the river to relax, share meals, or simply cool off, especially during hot days. Sometimes also it becomes a natural setting for informal bonding and storytelling. So during special occasions like Christmas, fiesta or barangay events, the riverbanks serve as gathering place for the entire community, reinforcing traditions and a sense of belonging. So the river also has a spiritual symbolic value for many of them. It represents as a source of peace, reflection, and even healing, a space that connects them to the environment and ancestors. So moreover, Ulot River has become a cornerstone of local ecotourism. So the popular torpedo boat adventure ride, which takes tourists through its scenic rapids, has brought national attention to this one hidden gem. So actually, dinadayo na siya ng mga tourists, even international and local tourists. So the community, especially former kaingin farmers and forest users, has transformed into ecotourism guides. So, nag-iba na yung hanap buhay nila. Both operators and storytellers are already earning sustainable income while also helping protect the river. So sila din yung nagpo-protect ng river. Guided forest walks, wildlife spotting. So these are the activities na pwedeng gawin doon. And cultural storytelling have also emerged as part of this growing tourism economy. The participants also expressed that this tourism success has not only boosted their livelihood, but also instilled a deep sense of pride in their natural heritage. They feel honored to showcase Ulot River to visitors and share its value not just as a landscape but as a living part of their identity. So this long cultural attachment reinforces the need for community-centered conservation approach that protect not only the river's biodiversity but also its role in maintaining the social and emotional well-being of those who lived alongside it. So, in addition to its material and cultural contributions, participants of the FGD also acknowledge the crucial supporting and regulating services provided by Ulot River. So functions that may be less visible but are essential for the stability and resilience of the local ecosystem. So the river plays a foundational role in supporting biodiversity. Locals have observed the presence of various species of fish, freshwater crabs, and even rare bird species that depend on the river and its riparian vegetation. So the surrounding forested areas also harbor native plants and trees that are important not only for ecological balance but also for future generations. These natural habitats form a web of life that sustain not only the wildlife but also the communities that rely on them. So, moreover, Ulot River contributes significantly to regulating environmental processes. The community members shared how the river helps control soil erosion, especially along its banks, by holding the soil in place through the tree roots and the vegetation. So alam natin yon. Basic lang to. However, they've also expressed concern that areas affected by deforestation or gravel extraction are now more vulnerable to erosion, landslide, and riverbanks collapse. Kasi dun nga sa activity na yon na nagkukwari. The river also acts as a natural flood regulator, absorbing excess rainwater and slowly releasing its downstream, which is especially important during the typhoon season. Participants noted that the changes in forest cover and increased runoff have made some areas more prone to flash floods, highlighting the need to preserve this regulatory function. So, finally, residents observe how the river helps maintain a cooler local climate, especially in areas where tree cover is intact. So the forested riparian zone provides shade, increase moisture in the air, and create a more comfortable environment, specifically for communities who spend much of their time outdoors. So these insights demonstrate the community's awareness of the river's invisible but vital contributions to ecological health and human safety. They see Ulot River not just as a provider, but a protector, a system that must be respected and restored to maintain balance in both nature and society. So, yun. Napakahalaga talaga sa kanila. That's according to people living along the river. So while the FGD affirmed the many benefits that Ulot River provides, it also revealed pressing environmental threats that continue to undermine the river's health and well-being of the surrounding communities. So one, for instance, which is considered as the most urgent concern raised by the participants, was the extraction of sand and gravel. So yun nga po, there were activities like that na nagkukwari from the riverbed. While this activity is often conducted for construction and road development. So the locals observe that excessive and unregulated extraction has led to the riverbank erosion and increased turbidity of the water and changes in its flow. So these changes not only threaten aquatic life but also make nearby households more vulnerable to flooding and landslide. Another significant issue in the practice of illegal fishing, particularly the use of electric current and harmful chemicals to catch fish. While some of these methods may offer short-term gains, participants emphasize that they are causing long-term damage to fish populations, disrupting breeding cycles, and destroying aquatic habitats. So this practice endanger the food supply and the livelihood of those who rely on the traditional and sustainable fishing method. So the community also reported problems with improper waste disposal. Plastic, domestic waste, and even industrial runoff, especially from upstream or nearby populated areas, often find their way into the river. So this pollution affects the water quality, harms wildlife, and diminishes the river's value for recreation and daily use. Deforestation and kaingin farming or burning were also highlighted as serious threats. These practices not only strip the land of its natural vegetation, but also result in soil degradation, reduced water retention, and increased siltation in the river. So over time, these effects compound, making the entire watershed more fragile and prone to disaster. So participants also expressed that while some conservation efforts have been introduced in the past, such as tree planting and regulation policies, there remains a lack of consistent enforcement and follow-up. So this contributes to a sense of frustration as many residents feel that despite their willingness to help, they are often left out of decision making and are unsupported in their efforts. So these insights underscore the need for stronger governance, community engagement, and integrated action to address both environmental degradation and socioeconomic factors that drive it. For throughout the FGD activity, The participants not only shared their concern about the threats facing Ulot River, but also expressed their aspirations and hopes for more inclusive and sustained support from institutions and agencies involved in environmental and community development. A recurring theme a recurring theme was the desire for continuous and meaningful support in achieving sustainable development. Many participants pointed out that while projects such as tree planting, river cleanups, and trainings have been conducted in the past, these are often short term and lack continuity. There is a strong call for uh, follow through to ensure that such interventions create lasting impact rather than being one-time events with no sustained engagement. So participants also shared that they feel excluded from the many national government programs, particularly those that offer financial or livelihood assistance. They express hope to be included in programs like Tupad and For Peace initiatives that could help caution the economic hardships brought by declining natural resources and limited job opportunities in rural areas. For many families, especially those relying on fishing, farming, or tourism, diversified livelihood options are becoming more essential. Another important point raised during the FGD was the need for environmental education targeting the youth. Community elders and leaders noted that many young people are becoming less connected to the river and aware of its ecological importance. They believe that instilling environmental awareness at a young age, whether through schools, barangay programs, or family-based learning, can help nurture future stewards of Ulot River. And lastly, the participants emphasize the importance of consistent support and monitoring from LGU and partner organizations. They are eager to collaborate but feel that their efforts are often unnoticed and unsupported due to lack of feedback or coordination. What they want is to be treated not just as beneficiaries but as active partners in protecting and managing the river's resources. As a whole, the discussion showed a community that is aware and concerned and ready to act. So as long as they are included, supported, and empowered in the process. So yun. One of the most encouraging outcomes of the FGD was the community's clear recognition of their role in conserving Ulot River. The participants demonstrated a strong sense of ownership, pride, and responsibility towards the river that sustains them. They understand that environmental protection cannot rest on the shoulders of single sector. Instead, they emphasize that safeguarding the Ulot River requires collaborative efforts, a partnership between, syempre, unang-una sila, the community members and the LGU, tapos the national agencies and academic institutions and the non-government organizations. So they believe that conservation should be inclusive and participatory, and that solution will only be effective when they are shaped by the people who live in the ecosystem being protected. So community members share that they are willing to do their part, to plant trees, monitor illegal activities, follow sustainable practices, but they need consistent support, guidance, and recognition from authorities. So they also noted that the importance of being involved not just as laborers in the conservation programs, but as decision makers and leaders in their own right. They called for stronger coordination mechanism, including regular feedback, transparency in project implementation, and capacity building sessions that equip them with both technical skills and environmental knowledge. And several participants even volunteered to be part of the local river watch groups. So community education campaigns or livelihood cooperatives rooted in sustainability. This sense of responsibility reflects a deep ecological awareness among residents. They see Ulot River not only as a source of resources, but as a living system that are entrusted to protect. So for their children, for their culture, and for the integrity of the environment as a whole. Their message is clear. So their message is clear and is telling, with proper support, trust, and cooperation, they are ready and willing to serve as stewards of the Ulot River and its riparian biodiversity. So, in conclusion, the FGD made it profoundly clear that Ulot River is not just a physical landscape. It is a lifetime intricately woven into the daily lives, histories, and identities of the people who live along its banks. For the community, the river is a source of food, water, raw materials, and income. But more than that, it is also a symbol of culture, family, resilience, and continuity. So it is where they gather, where their stories are told, and where memories are made. So the river is a teacher, a provider, and in many ways, a sacred space that deserves respect and protection. The voices here during the FGD reflect a rich body of ecological knowledge rooted in first-hand experience. So these insights are essential, not just as data points, but as guiding principles for how we shape environmental policy, conservation programs, and community development. The people living in riparian communities are not passive observers of environmental change, but they are frontline witnesses and active agents in protection their ecosystems. Therefore, sustaining Ulot River cannot be achieved through top-down policies alone. It requires a commitment to genuine dialogue, shared responsibility, and long-term collaboration with the communities that depend on it the most. It means valuing local voices, understanding their struggles and aspiration, making them central to every conservation effort. So, in essence, protecting Ulot River means protecting the very fabric of the communities that draw life, meaning, and hope from its flow. Based on the insights gathered from the focus group discussion, the CONserve-KAIGANGAN team has formulated a set of community-grounded recommendations that aim to promote both the conservation of Ulot River and well-being of the people who depend on it. First is we recommend strengthening local participation in all aspects of river and watershed management. The community has shown a strong willingness to be involved, not just as beneficiaries, but as partners and co-managers. This means creating spaces for inclusive planning, participatory monitoring, and decision making that reflect the real needs and wisdom of local residents. Second is there is a clear need to provide consistent livelihood and technical support to reduce dependence on unsustainable practices. Many harmful activities such as illegal logging or destructive fishing are driven by poverty and lack of alternatives. So, supporting nature based enterprises and sustainable agriculture, for instance, and ecotourism can offer people dignified and eco-friendly sources of income. So these should be complemented with skills training, tools, and access to market. And the third recommendation is the importance of environmental education cannot be overstated, especially for the youth. Many participants emphasize that future generations must be taught not only to appreciate the river's beauty but also to understand its function in the ecosystem. So we recommend integrating riparian and watershed education in schools, barangay programs, and community gatherings to cultivate environmental stewardship at their early stage or early on. And the fourth recommendation is we strongly advocate for consistent monitoring and follow-up of conservation initiatives. The community expressed frustration over past efforts that began with promise but lacked continuity. So there must be clear accountability, reporting, and regular engagement to ensure that the programs are not only implemented but also maintained. And lastly, we stress that the long-term protection of Ulot River will require cross-sector collaboration. This includes the cooperation between the local governments, national agencies, academic institutions, civil society organization, and most importantly, the people living closest to the river. Sustainable management must be a shared goal and grounded in equity. It must be transparent and should have a mutual respect. So by acting on these recommendations, we can ensure that Ulot River remains a thriving ecosystem and a source of life, identity, and opportunity for the generations to come. So, yun. On behalf of the CONserve-KAIGANGAN team, I sincerely thank you for your time and for your attention and openness to listen the voices of the community we engage with. So this presentation is more than just a report. It is a reflection of the lived realities, concerns, and hopes of the people who call the Ulot River a home. And their stories remind us that conservation is not just about protecting landscape. It is about protecting the lives, the livelihood, and the cultural heritage that flow with the river itself. So we warmly welcome your questions, insights, and suggestions as we continue this important dialogue. Your support, whether as researchers, as decision makers, educators, or fellow advocates, is very important to ensure that our Ulot River is not only preserved but also nurtured as a shared natural and cultural treasure. So we hope that this presentation sparks deeper collaboration, informed action, and sustained commitment to safeguard Ulot River so that both the ecosystem and the communities it supports may continue to thrive together. So thank you once again, and we look forward to working together in this shared journey of conservation and empowerment. Well, thank you. Good morning, everyone.
And hi, thank you very much, Dr. Echapare, for that very informative and wonderful presentations. I'm sure our participants enjoyed and learned a lot from you po. For the next segment, I would like to invite everyone to our open forum. So for our participants, please make sure to type your questions in the chat box and I will read them for you. Okay, while you are doing so, allow me to read some of the questions we got from the pre-registration for our speaker. From Ma'am Rowelyn J. Paz of Mariners Polytechnic Colleges Foundation of Kanaman. Her question is, what challenges have you encountered in conducting the study?
Thank you for this question. In community ways of this that is the one, for instance, is coordinating with the participant schedule. So napakahirap. Many of the community members, especially the farmers and the tour guides, have daily responsibilities and limited availability. So we had to adjust our FGD schedule to suit their convenience without compromising the quality of the discussion. Another thing that we also face is the logistical limitations, so such as ensuring the quiet or neutral venue for the FGD and managing the transportation. Transportation to so the attendance and going and other things they include especially share thoughts, especially the women and the youth. This to address this, what we did is we use a localized conversational environment to encourage them to open and share their insights. And additionally, to be mindful of reach fatigue and expectations, so such as some communities have previously participated in surveys or consultations which with little feedback on or follow-up. So this made it important for us to clearly communicate our intentions and build trust by ensuring that their voices would truly be reflected and valued in the results.
Ayan, thank you very much po. I think the question was answered, and yeah, truly logistical problems are one of the biggest problems I think most projects encounter. So we have next question here in from Zoom from Ma'am Menisa Antonio. Her question is, how many kilometers or meters from the river are considered riparian zone? Again, how many kilometers or meters from the river are considered riparian zone?
So in our in our study, the biodiversity assessment in the foreign area. So measurement. I cannot tell the exact measurement, but what we did is Miss Marnie, one of the member of the CONserve-KAIGANGAN team, is the one identified the area or the study area or the plots located in the along the riparian zone of the Ulot River. You can check our publications on that. I think it's already out.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I think really riparian zones are depends on the context or the site you're doing your research. And I think we'll only be able to accommodate one last question. I'll be reading again from the pre-registration question from Francis A. Aguilar of the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. How could one measure a development or increase in a community's ecological insight or knowledge? Again, how could one measure a development or increase in a community's ecological insight or knowledge?
Okay, so pwede nating, you can use parang combination or a mixed method or qualitative and quantitative method. So ideally, this is being applied before and after an intervention. So pag na-implement na yung intervention, such as, for example, intervention na ginawa nyo is awareness campaign, or it may be a training or a conservation project. So one common approach is to use the pre and the post assessment tools. So pwede po siyang gamitin. Like test the understanding of key ecological concepts, like for example, biodiversity, ecosystem services, and pollution impact. The attitude and the perception scales can also be assessed to gauge the shift in how people view environmental responsibility, conservation behavior, or the value of natural resources. We can also measure development through FGD. So katulad ng ginawa namin. Like, for example, to compare how people talk about environmental issues, the terms they use, and the depth of their responses could be measured or noted. So another indicator is yung behavioral aspect naman. So if there is behavioral change, for example, there is an increased participation in tree planting, there is the reduction of harmful practices, just like illegal fishing, or the adoption of conservation-aligned livelihood practices can signal improved ecological understanding. So in some cases, community mapping or participatory tools are used to let people illustrate their understanding of their environment. So if their maps and time, so that This is a strong indicator of growing ecological insight.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Eds, for the very clear answers to our questions and for that very engaging and lively discussion. So I think we have covered all the questions from the audience given our limited time. So let us now proceed to the presentation of the certificate for our guest speaker. Let me just read the citation. So University of the Philippines, Los Baños Certificate of Appreciation is awarded to Edelyn Oechapare for serving as the resource speaker during the webinar presentation entitled Community Perceptions and Ecological Insights on Ulot River Riparian Biodiversity, a focus group discussion approach webinar series held on 13th May of 2025 via Zoom, signed by project leader Dr. Maria Celeste N. Manatikla Hilario. Thank you very much again, Doc Echapare, for your expertise.
Thank you.
So for all of us here, as you all know, we're doing this once a month. And for our next session happening on June 10, 2025, we are excited to have featured two speakers. We have Dr. Karl Marx Quiazon, Professor 6 and Director of Freshwater Aquaculture Center, who will be presenting about unlocking research horizons opportunities through the JSPS Fellowship Program. JSPS is the Japan Society for the Promotion of Science. And our next speaker is Dr. Ronilo Jose Flores, Associate Professor of the Institute of Biological Science and Associate Dean of UPLB Graduate School, who will present about genetics. Again, watch out for that because we'll be featuring two speakers for our next webinar on June 10, 2025. So for all of us here, let's take a photo op first. Kindly open your cameras. While waiting for the participants to open the cameras, we invite you to visit our page and like our CONserve-KAIGANGAN webinar series to keep updated. And yeah, I think everyone has opened their cameras. Again, thank you very much for all our attendees. Before you leave, as mentioned, please do not forget to scan the QR code or visit the link shown on your screen. Yeah, and for the quiz, that's just a short quiz and evaluation form. The evaluation link will be sent after you have answered our quiz. And again, thank you everyone and see you again on our next webinar and enjoy the rest of the day. So to keep updated, please follow and like our Facebook page, CONserve-KAIGANGAN. Thank you everyone.
Samar Island is the third largest island in the Philippines and has one of the most extensive forest over limestone ecosystems in the country. This ecosystem is home to a wide array of uniquely adapted flora and fauna. Samar Island is known to be one of the centers of botanical diversity in the Philippines and has been nominated as a UNESCO World Natural Heritage Site for its exceptional natural beauty and precious biodiversity. For these reasons, CONserve-KAIGANGAN, a biodiversity research program, was established. Kaigangan is a Samar local word that means forest over limestone. Our research program's mission is to assess and conserve the biodiversity in Samar Island's forest over limestone towards its sustainable management. One of our program's projects is the assessment of biodiversity and community structure in forest over limestone ecosystems. This component of our research aims to determine plant diversity and vegetation structure in various habitat types in forests over limestone, to determine animal diversity associated with forest over limestone, to identify functional classification of vegetation with its associated animal diversity, and to analyze the environmental factors influencing the prevailing structure of the biota. We conducted a comprehensive biodiversity assessment of forests over limestone in the municipalities of Paranas, Taft, and Giwan with remarkable findings. A combined total of 71 plant species were recorded from these municipalities, with at least 3 tree species classified as vulnerable based on the DENR updated national list of threatened Philippine plants. A total of 52 terrestrial vertebrate animal species were also recorded, including 5 amphibian species, 15 reptile species, 20 bird species, and 12 mammal species with conservation statuses ranging from threatened to endangered and critically endangered, based on the DENR updated national list of threatened Philippine fauna. This knowledge will empower our stakeholders in these areas to make appropriate research-based conservation efforts for the protection of these ecosystems that harbor an assemblage of rare, endemic, and economically important flora and fauna. Through this program, people will be equipped with knowledge on forests over limestone biodiversity, including the ecosystem services that it can offer to the community. We at CONserve-KAIGANGAN continue to further raise awareness and capacitate national and local government agencies, especially local communities living in and around Samar's Kaigangan.